Well, hello again. Sorry for the way my voice sounds. I'm a little sick and it's cold outside, so I'm kind of like stuffy and not really like with it right now. But anyway, the U-bolts, I still haven't gotten them. I ordered them on December 2nd. They said that they were prime and that they were in stock. So I thought that they were going to be here in like 1 or 2 days. But now, I just checked it this morning again. They haven't shipped and I'm supposed to get them by 8 p.m. tonight. And tonight is the 9th. Today's the 9th. So I was supposed to get them tonight at 8 p.m. but there's still no tracking number. And so far they haven't shipped. So I've got no U-bolts to show you, and I've got basically nothing I can do on the Rambler right now. I need to put it on the ground, and I can't put it on the ground unless I have the U-bolts. So I was thinking about trying to slap on 3 U-bolts and just seeing if it'll be able to be on the ground, but I don't know. I don't want to like break anything. So let's not do that. Let's just wait for the U-bolts to get in or whatever. But anyway, in the meantime, you can see behind me, my dad has bought his second PT Cruiser in like a month, and he's talking about buying his third already. For some reason, he's got this fixation on PT Cruisers right now. He's always liked the car. The old Plymouth we had that I mentioned in the last video, he used to call it the PT Crusher. So I feel like he's kind of had like a fixation on these cars for a long time. But anyway, he bought this one. The last one that he bought it for $300, and it ran, but it would shut off in the middle of driving. So basically the lady was like tired of dealing with it and tired of bringing it to shops and things like that. So basically she was like, I need to get rid of this thing. She originally had it up for $1,500. My dad got it for $300. So got it back to his house. We ended up figuring out that after running the codes and stuff on the car, that it needed like an oil pressure sensor, it needed a crank angle sensor, and it needed a couple of other things. We ended up spending like, I think he spent like $40 or $40 or $50 to fix all those issues and get the car running perfect. And the car ran perfect. He cleaned up the interior, he cleaned up the paint, and sold it and made quite a good profit on it. So he wanted to buy this one. This one is significant amount more work. We'll go a little overview of it, but this is kind of what's been keeping me a little bit busy the past day or so. I came out here and took all the parts out of the car, and we got like a bucket of parts and everything like that. But I haven't really started working on it yet, just kind of looking over what we've got for it. But anyway, the last one was like almost no work, and we got it running perfect. This one is a little bit more work. As you can see, as I just showed you, the head is off the car. So the assumption of the people who owned it before us was that the head gasket was blown in the car. Now, like, all the indications point to it might possibly have had a little bit of a void in the head gasket, but it doesn't look like it had a blown head gasket. From just looking at the gasket and just looking at the head and the head mating surface on the block, it doesn't look bad at all. So the radiator looks a little questionable. The thermostat looks a little questionable. Chryslers have like this water pipe, these water pipes that come out of the front of the block, and it feeds down into the radiator hose. Those always end up corroding, and like little pinholes and stuff could cause it to overheat. I changed, I think, 2 of those on my wife's old Dodge Stratus that she had when she was like 17. So we'll take a look at all that stuff whenever we get to it. But yeah, so we'll take a quick look at the PT Cruiser, and yeah, so I mean, it's nothing exciting. It's not a race car. It doesn't have a turbo on it. It doesn't do burnouts or anything, but it is 5-speed. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've really seen a PT Cruiser 5-speed in person before. Most of them I've seen that are automatic, I think, but then again, I'm not a PT Cruiser guy, so it's not like I have a bunch of friends who are like just mobbing PT Cruisers down the street. But anyway, yeah, so we'll get into this and just take a quick look at it. Here's the head. Like I said, the people before us said that had a blown head gasket, but like if you look at the valves or anything like that, it doesn't really look like it's had a blown head gasket or anything like that. And the gasket itself looks pretty good. I mean, there's some like questionable spots here on the gasket, but for the most part, it looks pretty good. I mean, I can't find any like major voids or anything on the gasket, so who knows? I mean, if anything, it was a really minor head gasket blown situation. Or, wow, the English language is hard. I was saying, it's if anything, it was really minor, like the issue that it was having, if it was a head gasket at all. So, I mean, clearly we're gonna put some new gaskets on it, at least the top end kit. But yeah, so I mean, we've got the head here. That looks all clean and everything. This is the basically bucket of parts. It's got the valve cover in there and all kinds of stuff. But as I was saying before, I mean, my dad's been doing mechanic work for years. And for him, buying a car like this that's basically been worked on before and has all the parts taken off of it and everything, this is like no issue for him. So what I mean by that is, for me, sorry, it's a little black. Hold on. Hello, light. Okay. Basically what I mean by that is, for me, like if I'm gonna buy a car that I wanna work on, or it's got an issue, it doesn't run or whatever, I at least want the car to be complete. Like I want it to be intact. That's like ideal, I think, personally. Because like I'm pretty meticulous. My dad makes fun of me for it all the time. Like even taking apart the Rambler, I label all the bolts from like where they came from, put them in a baggie, and then I have them like on my shelf over there, and then I have them like in this bucket of LS parts right here. So that way I know exactly where they go. And like my dad makes fun of me because he's like, I don't need to know exactly where they went. I'll just find, you know, I just know where they go or whatever. So I mean, good for him. I don't have that skill or whatever. But anyway, what I was saying was, he's way more comfortable with buying like more of a bucket of parts sort of thing than I am. Like I said, the last red PT Cruiser that he bought was like, it was all complete. It ran and drove, actually. Like, there were no parts off of the car. So that one's more up my alley. But yeah, so he's way more comfortable with buying cars like this. It's the same thing with like when it comes to buying a car. Like if I find a car online and I'm like, oh man, that's a sweet car, like I want to get it. You look at the description and it says, oh, it's the motor and transmission has been changed on the car. That kind of is like a turnoff for me, because like you never know, you never know who did the work. So like it could have been them. They have no experience with cars. They have no experience with turning wrenches or working on stuff or knowing any tools or knowing parts or anything like that. So you could run into that thing where they're just like taking stuff apart and just throwing parts away, or like losing parts, or they don't know what they're doing, so they screw up the car worse than it was, or whatever it is. Granted, they never put this car back together, hence the big bucket of parts that we've got. But yeah, that's just kind of how I roll with it. But yeah, I guess like me and my dad are going to start kind of doing this a little bit, maybe wrenching on cars a little bit more, and maybe seeing if we can get a few good clean cars to, you know, buy, clean up, work on, and then possibly sell them, and maybe just steadily upgrade from there. But right now we've got this one. We just brought it over here a couple days ago. We'll like go in the car and show you a lot of stuff. I just showed you the engine bay. We'll show it to you one more time real quick. But yeah, so let's just do a little quick walk around of the car, and we'll go from there. I don't know what year this is, to be honest with you. Might say it right here. Probably not. It's probably in the door. But anyway, yeah, so it's a PT Cruiser. Apparently it had an overheating issue or something like that, so they pulled the head off of it, which seems to be everybody's first go-to thing instead of checking the other stuff around it. But yeah, so they pulled the head off of it. They left a lot of stuff just strewn about here, like the timing belt and all that kind of stuff, and it's clearly been sitting like under a tree or outside for a while. I mean, there's even some bolts just sitting right here, which didn't notice until just now, so a couple of those are probably gone. But anyway, we'll figure it out that when it comes to it. But yeah, so this is the outside of the car. It's not like totally bad. You can see it's been sitting under a tree or something. There's like some sap or something on the top of the roof, but I think most of that'll polish out, and we'll wash all of it and go over the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's pretty clean. It'll clean up nice. Again, it's nothing special. It's no race car or anything. It's just a PT Cruiser, but surprisingly enough, the rear shocks still work. They seem like they're going out a little bit, but not really. But yeah, so there's the back. We had all the parts laying on this sheet right here, but yeah, so I mean, the interior is pretty clean. It needs a really good scrubbing, but for the most part, like, there's some little stuff back here, but this just looks like maybe dirt or something in the carpet, but it looks good. It's pretty clean. I got the jack and all the tools that came with the car sitting in the garage. And then here's the front grille and one of the hubcaps. Yeah, so the back of it's pretty clean. It's got the switches and everything for the rear windows and, you know, standard old PT Cruiser stuff. But yeah. And then this is the best part, that it's 5-speed. I mean, like, I'm pretty excited that it's 5-speed. I'm hoping my dad will let me chirp some gears in it or something whenever we're done fixing it up over here, but just because I feel like it'd be hilarious to, you know, like, try and chirp second gear in a PT Cruiser. But yeah, I mean, the interior is super simple. The last one he had, I was actually pretty impressed with it a little, like, for the most part, because it was like a good clean car, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like these kind of catch a lot of jokes, PT Cruisers, but I mean, they're not bad cars. I mean, they get good gas mileage, I guess, for the most part, and it's a pretty big car for being like a semi-compact car, and they're very functional. I mean, it's a car's a car, you know what I mean? For some people, you know, they don't give a crap about going fast or having all the fancy stuff. They just want to get point A to point B, and like, this is one of those cars. Like, this is a good point A to point B car. And yeah, so it literally has the same exact radio that my '03 Dodge Cummins had. It's the exact same radio. So that just goes to show you that, like, Chrysler and Dodge is like, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of thing. So but yeah, I mean, everything looks really similar to other Chrysler cars whenever you get in these things. Even now it's kind of like that too. Like, ever since they switched to that like dial thing, like I have it in my truck now to switch gears, like every car and every truck has the same exact dial and everything. So yeah, but yeah, so I mean, it's got like the same radio that I had in my old truck. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just, this is the best part about it, is that it's 5-speed. It's super cool. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm not super into these cars. My dad really likes them because they look like they're like vintage 40s cars, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a regular car. Like, it's nothing cool, but it'll be cool to show, like, putting it back together, getting it running again, and then, you know, possibly selling it or seeing what my dad wants to do with it. But yeah, so that's basically this. Take a gander in the glove box. Nothing cool in there, just some emissions reports, which we do have emissions in Georgia. Where I live, we don't, but like in the metro Atlanta area, there are emissions. So you have to get your car emissions tested unless it's like 30 years or 25 years old or something like that. Then you're exempt from emissions. And I also think like heavy duty trucks, like my '03 was, I had to get it emissions tested, but since it was a heavy duty truck with a diesel in it, I didn't have to get it emissions tested when I lived in the Beaufort Gwinnett area. But where I live now, there are no emissions. So, you know, that's a good thing, I guess, for people like me that like to do cool stuff to cars. So yeah, but anyway, this is the PT Cruiser project that me and my dad are going to be tinkering on just to get it running again. Again, it's not a race car. We're not going to do anything crazy to it. We're not going to turbo it or put nitrous on it. We're literally going to, I mean, maybe we will, I don't know, but probably not. I mean, we're probably just going to fix it up and sell it and maybe get something else. I don't know, but yeah, that's the PT Cruiser. We're going to go over a lot of stuff with this. I mean, I've got quite a detailing set in my garage. Maybe I'll show it real quick, but I bought it when I bought my truck. It's like the first new car I've ever had, and like the first car that has ever had like a paint finish on it that I cared about. So I bought like a really extensive detailing kit, I guess you could say, and then I bought like a case for it, that like one of those rigid stack cases you would see at Home Depot, so I could like wheel it around and like store it in my garage without getting the microfibers all gross and stuff. So we'll detail it. We'll try and polish out some of this like sap and water that's like, I don't know if you could see it on the window, probably not, but like, oh yeah, you could see it a little bit. But like, it's got that all over the car. It's just like this sappy residue from sitting under a tree or something. So we'll try and polish all that out and get all that out, and we'll go through the interior really good too. I've got all the attachments for the vac, and I've got some cleaner and everything like that. But for the most part, I mean, the interior is relatively clean. I mean, there's a couple stains in it that I think we could get out, but it looks like, you know, looks like a family car. Like there were some kids in here and stuff like that. So that's no big deal. We'll get all that fixed and cleaned up. And my dad likes to take hours to do all that kind of stuff anyway. So, but yeah, we'll go through all that. We'll go through the head gasket. We'll go through putting the car back together. We'll go through starting it up and figuring it all out and show all that as we go on. All right, so I just closed up the garage. Anyway, it's not exciting, but that's what I've got going on right now. You know, I'm waiting on the parts for the U-bolts. I'm waiting for the U-bolts. So once we get those, we'll slap them on the rear end and drop the car down. Then I want to pull the motor and trans out, finish up the motor mounts, pull the front suspension off, reinforce that. Possibly get a sandblaster and a parts washer, clean them all up, paint them, put the new bushings in, etc. So I mean, I've got plans for the car, but I literally can't do anything until I get the car on the ground, and I need those U-bolts. So Amazon, if you're watching this, which I know you aren't because you're a gigantic company and who cares about me, but I need my U-bolts, man. Ship them out, bro. What's going on? Anyway, yeah, so we'll get to that next time. Sorry about this one. I know that PT Cruisers aren't cool at all, but it is what it is. Anyway, we'll call this one done. Maybe this is probably the shortest video I've ever done out of the 3 videos in my whole life, or 4, because I do have one of my dad riding his motorcycle on the tail of the dragon. So anyway, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and peace.